Hi everybody, Kevin here. Welcome to the Claremont Classic Garage. Today's project is fixing up a piece of equipment that we bought. This here is an old Black & Decker valve refacing machine. Something that I've always wanted to get my hands on. This all started because I was at an auction and I managed to get myself a valve seat cutting kit, which is great, but it really becomes great if you have this to go with it. So I scrounged around and I found this on Kijiji and got a really good price on it. It works, it just needs some fixing up. There's some parts not on it, but I do have them. That stuff is back in here. This is the holder for the stone truer or dresser. This is the valve stem attachment for this end of it. They don't all have this. That's a good thing to have. And here's the belt covers. So we're just kind of going to go through it and get it cleaned up. And it needs new cords. We'll do that. And we can put this thing back into service because I have to do a valve job on an old flathead or two around here. This will make it way easier. So let's get started. The scope of our repair is going to include taking the thing apart, cleaning it up. I might give it a coat of paint. We'll see how time goes. And get the reservoir, the coolant reservoir, all cleaned out. If there's anything in it, I don't know. And we'll get her to work. Okay, so the machine's mostly apart. There's the base. I've started here taking apart the main motor because I want to rewire it because the wiring is just a dog's breakfast inside it. So we'll get that done and then we'll tackle the small motor. So that all went good. I took the motor apart, put a new cord in it, put it back together. I've tested it. It runs fine, nice and quiet, no sparkies. So we can put this one aside and now we'll change the cord on the little motor. You can see the cord goes in here. I'm really hoping that the electrical connections are in there and I don't have to take this whole bloody thing apart. There we go. V is for victory. There's the end of the wire there. So we'll just have to pick away and get the connections out into the light of day. And we'll change this cord and then we'll be golden. Okay, so there's our new connections made. I did in the end have to open this end and take the armature out because these wire nuts were caught in behind the field and I couldn't get them undone. So, but anyway, it doesn't matter. While I was at it, I cleaned up the commutator and kind of blew the motor out a little bit. So it wasn't that bad. It only took a minute. So now I'm gonna push the wires back in, put the cover back on. And we'll be getting close to having this part of it done. While I've got this upside down, I'm going to take my sanding block and just touch these surfaces here. This is where it pivots to set your valve face angle. So I just want to make sure there's no high spots. I mean, it's a little rough there. People have been swinging this thing back and forth for 70 years, so, or 60 years. But I can at least give it a touch. So there's that all cleaned up. I kind of like it like that. I've decided I don't think I'm going to paint it. Mostly because I don't have the patience. And it'll just end up looking like this again anyway. It's hard to get paint to stick to this old cast aluminum. Especially when it's been covered in oil its whole life. So I think we're just going to clean it and make sure it works good. That's all. So now what I have to do is I have to clean up all this. This is where the actual the chuck for your valve. It was pretty rusted up and stuck and seized when I got it. So I'm going to clean that all up, put it back together, and then we'll power it up and make sure it works. All right, so that's all back together now. Now I'm going to show you how this actually works. So you get your valve here, and this is the collet that grabs it. So the collet is inside here, and this goes from, I think, 9/32 to 9/16 is the range that it'll grab. So basically, it gets pushed against two tapers, which collapses it, right, when you put it in. So here's one of the tapers. You can see there in there. And then the other taper is inside there. So we're going to load this in. So you load that in. Then you load that in. This is all cleaned up and lubricated. Get this out. And then this is the actual, this is what actually tightens it. So we'll put our valve in here where we think it should be, right? Sticking out like that. And then grab it tight. So now, when the motor turns, it'll spin the valve. So what you do now is, if you're doing a whole set of them, this is your stopper. So you just push this in. There, till it taps the valve, and you leave it there like that. So now, every valve that you put, you don't have to keep resetting the machine. You just take the valve out, right? You go, you put your next one in, and you can see it goes against the stopper, and you're good to go. Tighten it up, and you're ready to grind that valve. So anyway, what we're going to do now is I'm going to hook it up temporary and make sure this motor still works after I rewired it. There we go. Running like a good thing. One thing that was missing was the reservoir for the coolant, but here it is. We've got a little old cookie tray here, and it was just the right size to fit in. So that's good.
You just need to know where to look.
Okay, it's upside down. I've got the two tables back installed. I'm just putting in the main motor now. There is a circlip missing off this pin. I'm going to have to see if I have one. And then we'll fish the belt through. Then we have to do the plumbing for the coolant. Okay, so we've got mostly everything buttoned up on top. This is the guard for the belt. I got that put back on. This is the holder for the truer for the stone, or the dresser for the stone. I got that put on. This is the valve stem and tappet grinding attachment with micrometer adjustment. We got that all fixed up. It was all seized up and stuck, so we got it freed up. It's good now. All that's left to do now, I have to do the electrical wiring, and I have to make a pickup tube for the pump and put the tray in there, and this thing should be ready to use. Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. I've got it upside down again. Now we're going to go ahead and we're replacing all the wiring. We already changed the pigtails on the motors. Now we're putting the main feed in, and we've got two switches that go there, and I'll probably be putting two brand new switches in it. Then the last thing I have to do while it's still underneath, I have to put a piece of hose on here that's the pickup for the coolant reservoir. The wiring that was in here was a mess. Here's what's left of it. They had it all mixed up, different gauges. It was, the insulation was all cracked and broken and hardened. So what I did, the machine's rated at 7.5 amps. So what I did is I brought number 14 gauge cord in from the wall to run it, and I've got 16 going to each motor. That the lighter gauge stuff is a lot easier to work with, and it's more than sufficient for the load that will be on it. So now we just have to fish this box up into here, feed the switches through, hook everything up, and we'll be ready to put it back over and try it. Okay, the wiring's all buttoned up. It's back clamped in its little raceway across the underside of the machine here. The box cover is back in place. Got our 2 new switches installed. Wires come out the back. Now I just have to put a little piece of hose on here for the fluid pickup. Then we can flip it over and see if it works. Well, I plugged it in and the lights in here are still on. So, theoretically, this switch should run this motor and this switch should run this motor. Let's find out. All right, so far so good. Let's try this one. Awesome. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and there's a few grease points on this. There's also a few points to put some oil. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to put some coolant in it and we'll see if the coolant pump works. All right, that's good. The grease fittings all took grease. So basically, these two here are for this, the screw in here for the motion, and same with these two. They grease this, the cross feed. So I guess I'm gonna put my coolant jug in there. We've got our pickup tube. I'll put that in there, and I did a lot of reading and everybody says just use automatic transmission fluid. It works perfectly. So that's what we're going to try, and hopefully the pump works. So here's our homemade coolant reservoir, made out of a cookie tin, but it fits, works, so we'll put that in and put some oil in it. Okay, reservoir's in, it's got oil in it. Once we start it up, we should see oil coming out whichever end we point the valve to. There's oil in our reservoir, so the pump is built right into the end of the main motor. So if the motor's turning, the pump is turning. So there's our coolant valve off, which it just bypasses and it dumps right back to the sump. Or we can aim it here, or we can aim it there. And then it drains back. This end has a drain in the back there, and it's got a hose that goes back to the reservoir. This one here, it just drains down into here, which drains back into the reservoir. So anyway, we're going to start it up and see what happens. Doesn't look like much is happening, does it? I'd say the pump might be shot. Oh, no, there it goes, I think. Maybe. It made some funny gurgling sounds, didn't it? Bad. Don't know why the motor started slowing down there. That's not good. That's still okay. Try it again. No, that's not good. Okay, I'm going to have to get this fluid out of here and we'll have a look-see, figure out, we can see what's going on. I had a little miscue with the motor at this end, but I took it apart and found it was just a little problem with the brush holder. It's all fixed up now. So we've got the valve head motor working. What do they call that? Sorry, the work head motor. And this is the wheel head motor working great. So what we're going to do next is see if we can get the coolant pump working. Now, the coolant pump is built into the end of this motor. And there's no moving parts in it at all. It's just a a passage drilled through the end of the shaft of the motor, which fits into kind of a little valve body. And as it spins, I guess it creates a vacuum and pulls the coolant up by vacuum and moves it along. So how you're supposed to get it going is this is the coolant pipe for the valve stem grinding part of it. So they say to pull that out, turn it over, and force some coolant down through here. That'll go down through the pump and prime it, and then it should pick up the coolant when you start the motor. We're going to find out. I did have a little coolant tray that I'd made out of a cookie box, but unfortunately it leaks where it's crimped together. So I have to work on that a little bit, but for now I've got this made out of an old antifreeze jug, and it fits in there perfectly. Here's my little pickup tube that I've made, and everybody seems to be happy using automatic transmission fluid for this. So we're going to put a little bit of ATF in here, slide it in there, then we'll prime it up like they say and see if it works. I took the motor out again. We're going to have another go at this pump. So this is the pump section of it here, and there's just some passages and drillings in the shaft, and as it goes around it must create a suction or something to move it along. So this one here is the pickup. This one here is the delivery up to the selector valve. And this guy here, I'm just not sure what it is. It may be a pressure bleed off. So if you have the selector valve turned to off, it just dumps the pressure there, because this does hook up to a hose that just goes back and dumps back in the sump. So I'm guessing that's what it is. But anyway, we're going to take this thing apart and have another look inside it if it looks like there's anything we can do to get this pump working again. Well, there's some kind of piece of junk or a dead bug or something in there. Maybe that's got something to do with it. Let me pick that out and see if I can figure out what it is. A little problem I found in the bottom of this thing. I've been going out on my mind trying to make the pump work, and I finally realized this motor is turning backwards. Don't ask me how I did that. I kind of wonder if when I had it apart, I've got something, the polarity of it reversed on the inside or something. Anyway, I'm going to take it apart again and reverse that, and then we'll see if we can get the pump going. So you see down in there, the coil springs wrapped around the brush holders. That's what makes the contact to the field. So we're going to reverse those, and hopefully that'll change the direction of the motor. I may have screwed that up when I had it out. It wouldn't be the first time. Okay, I got those switched around. Now we'll put it back together and plug it in, and well, we'll see what happens. Alrighty, that solved the problem. The motor turns the right way now, so I'll put the pulley back on it. We'll stick it back in, and we'll run it up again and see if we can get the pump to work this time. Alright, so our coolant pump just refuses to work. The built-in one in the motor here. So what I've done, I've got a little 12-volt power supply, and I've mounted a 12-volt fuel pump under here, and we're going to see if we can use that to pick up coolant from our little reservoir and push that up to the coolant valve. This could get exciting. Well, don't ask me if this will work, but here goes anything. Can hear something going on under there. There's air bubbles coming out. That means the pump is running backwards. Oh, there's a little bit. Look at that. There it comes. All right, we have coolant. Okay, so let's see what happens if I try and grind the valve. I'll be right back. Okay, now that we got the coolant sorted out, let's try the stem grinder. And this has got micrometer adjustment. So we turn it in about a half a thou. Perfect. All right, now I'm going to fire up the main motor. I'll fire up the valve motor. I'll fire up the coolant motor. And then we'll go ahead and take a couple of small cuts off the face of this valve. I've been screwing around with it a lot. It's getting pretty ragged looking. We've taken quite a bit off. It's just a valve from an old Chevy 216. Nothing I can use around here. But anyway, let's see. There goes the pump. All right, look at that. There's our coolant coming out. Okay. So, let's see what we get here. And then this micrometer adjusts just like the other one. We'll take another, just a half a thou there. And there you have it. Our Black & Decker valve grinding machine works. We can use it. I can go ahead and start doing the valve job on the old Fortune over there. That'll be the first one that we do. Anyway, let me shut this down. Shut the pump off. So, let's see. Did we get a nice finish on that? Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, so we're going to be very busy with the Fortune because it's a non-adjustable. You literally adjust the valve clearance by grinding the end of the valve stem. And if you have if you have too much valve clearance, to reduce it, you grind away at the face and the seat to lower the valve in the block. But anyway, we'll find out how that's all going to go when we get into it. But for now, we're good. I'm very happy. This thing is working. Fantastic. This here I bought at the auction. It's a Sioux valve seat grinding kit. Back from the good old days. This thing's probably from the 50s. But they work great. So we're going to kind of go through it and see what all we've got here. Some of the stuff I've thrown in here that I had kicking around. Some New Way seat cutters. These are for lapping your valves, you know. These things. Lapping compound. This is I got from my father-in-law. It's an old school seat cutter from when people used to do a valve job in their driveway on a Saturday afternoon. Times have changed. Anyway, so let's have a look what we've got in here. First I'm gonna well, come on, focus. There we go. I'm gonna lift out the tray. The actual electric motor is underneath here, and we'll see what all is in there. All right, here on the inside of the lid, we've got the instructions how to use the thing. First on the left is the instructions for the stone cutter, which we've got. That's good. In the center is the instructions for the valve seat indicator. I don't have that. I'm going to see if I can find one on eBay or something. Over here on the right is the instruction for actually grinding the seats. Now down here in the box we've got all the different mandrels and arbors that fit all the different valve guides. Here's the one that I was very interested in. This is the one for Ford flatheads. We also got in here, these are actually, whoops. These are a set of guide knurlers, which is handy to have. I ordered a set of guide reamers off the internet. So in here we've got these are the drivers for the stones. This is a goofy thing I made up years ago for working on Ford flathead valve seats. As you can guess, it doesn't work that well. Not sure what that little bushing is for. Somewhere in here I saw the driver. This here. This is the driver. See, it's got the square drive for the knurlers. So anyway, we do have a good selection of stuff here. We should be able to do all the valve work we need to. Look, there's another pilot. We'll put that in here. It should work out quite well. We can go into the valve job business here at the Claremont Classic Garage. I doubt that. I'm mostly just interested in doing my own stuff because a good valve job will make an engine run really nicely. I thought I was going to have to replace the cord on this driver if it was anything like the cord on the valve seat cutter, but frankly, it's in quite good shape. It's pliable. It's not cracked. All it really needs is a new end. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll put a new end on this. And this thing will be pretty much ready to go. We'll give it a good clean. I'll clean out the inside of the box and that and get it a little bit organized. And we'll be ready to rock and roll. Okay, there we go. New plug installed. We'll go ahead and plug it in. Hopefully I don't get electrocuted right here on the show. Don't think so. Let's see. Beautiful. Okay, so that is good to go. Fantastic. Now we're going to clean these two things up. We're going to clean out the box. And this thing is just about ready to get put into use, I'd say. There we go. I've got it all organized now. The gun is in there all fixed up. The stone refacer. This is the little hand crank thing for lapping your valves. I also have two old-fashioned ones. The suction cups are kind of rotted out on them, but I ordered a couple on Amazon, waiting for them to come. I've got all my mandrels arranged by size. This is great. I'm still trying to figure out what these three are, but anyway, we'll figure it out. So anyway, I guess that's it for now on our valve service equipment. Hopefully in the near future we'll be able to start doing valve jobs around here. And that'll be good. That'll be another thing that we don't have to hire other people to do. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Glad you came to see. As usual, down below there, please subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment. Hit the like button. Share our video around. And we'll see you next time on the Claremont Classic Garage.